Welcome to Stonewatch. This is my open spoiler discussion for Spider-Man No Way Home. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can notify for future videos. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, I went and checked out Spider-Man No Way Home at the theater this weekend. Now, without getting into heavy spoilers off the bat, I gotta say, this movie was pretty damn awesome, I have to say. I mean, Jon Watts just pretty much knocked this movie out of the park. I mean, this whole entire trilogy, he did an awesome job on all three of these movies. I mean, I can't say it enough. I am so looking forward to what he does for Fantastic Four. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this movie was action-packed. It had some really emotional moments. I mean, the effects were obviously pretty damn good because it's the MCU and Sony, mind you. And the story of this was a lot better than I thought it was actually going to be. There was like a lot of fan service I keep on hearing people say, but they didn't really shove it down your throat, but they kept on bringing them up. And then sometimes it was kind of like, really? But then at other times it was like, wow, man, it's like they crammed a lot into this movie, but they didn't make it seem like that was like the whole entire thing. We're like, here's this, and then here's this, and then here's this one. You know what I mean? Now, I do think this was an awesome ending to the Spider-Man Home trilogy, or now, while there was no drunk karaoke scene in this movie, we got a lot of other cool stuff that kind of made up for what we didn't get as far as that goes. I mean, we got a couple cool cameos in this movie. One that we kind of knew that was kind of coming because it was hinted at last week by Kevin Feige. And then there was one at the end credit scene at this movie. Now, I have to say that I'm still amazed. After 10 plus years of watching the MCU movies, you would think that people would know there's always at least one or two credit scenes at the end of every single MCU movie. And I was still shocked when I saw people getting up and getting ready to leave. Even before the first credit scene happened, I'm going, man, are you that, not knowing or something like that? And they would sit there and they watched it on the side out of their seats, whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then they end up leaving. I'm going, wait, there's one more. And I tried telling people, but they just kept walking by. I'm going, all right, man, if you don't want to see it. I mean, so like I said at the top of this video, this is a spoiler discussion video. So if you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, this is as far as I'm going to go without telling any spoilers. So there's your warning. Spider-Man No Way Home is a 2021 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Spider-Man, co-produced by Columbia Pictures and Marvel Studios and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. It is the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017 and Spider-Man Far From Home in 2019. It is the 27th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the film is directed by Jon Watts and written by Chris McKenna and Eric Sumners. In the film, Parker asks Dr. Stephen Strange to make his identity as Spider-Man a secret again, with magic following its public revelation in Far From Home. But this breaks open the multiverse, allowing 5 supervillains from alternate realities who have fought their own versions of Parker enter his universe. A third MCU Spider-Man film was planned during the production of Homecoming in 2017. By 2019, negotiations between Sony and Marvel Studios to alter their deal in which they produce a Spider-Man films together ended with Marvel Studios leaving the project. However, negative fan reaction led to a new deal between the two companies a month later. Watts, McKenna, Sumners, and Holland were set to return at that time. Filming began in October of 2020 in New York City, before moving to Atlanta later that month and wrapping up at the end of March of 2021. No Way Home explores the concept of the multiverse and ties the MCU to the past Spider-Man films series, with numerous actors including previous Spider-Man actors Maguire and Garfield reprising their roles from Spider-Man films directed by Sam Raimi and Mark Webb. Return of Maguire and Garfield was subject of speculation, and Sony and Marvel and cast attempted to conceal their involvement despite numerous leaks. Spider-Man No Way Home premiered at the Fox Village Theater in Los Angeles on December 13th of 2021. It was theatrically released in the United States on December 17th, 2021 as part of the Phase 4 of the MCU. The film received acclaim from the critics with the praise of the performances and the chemistry of the cast, screenplay, emotional weight, direction, action sequences, cinematography, and the music score. Disney and Sony have begun discussions on future Spider-Man collaborations. Starring in this movie have Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jacob Batalon, Jon Favreau, Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Benedict Wong, Tony Revolori, Marissa Tomei, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, just to name a few. Now, currently, Spider-Man No Way Home is sitting with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 94%, with 279 critics so far checking in. Now, over on the audience side, we're sitting with a score of 99%. So it's pretty much safe to say right now, everybody is loving this film. Now, this movie had a budget of $200 million, and its total domestic box office haul as of right now, and the final numbers are out, is $260 million. That's pretty damn awesome. Up until this point, Venom Let There Be Carnage was holding the record with a little bit over 90. And Spider-Man just comes swinging in and pretty much triples that take opening weekend, which is pretty damn good. Internationally, this movie brought in $340 million, so that brings a grand total of $600 million worldwide box office take opening weekend. That is phenomenal numbers, especially in this day and age. I mean, that's just phenomenal. Now, I had no doubt that this movie was going to do really well at the box office this weekend, especially with all the speculation and the fever pitch of everybody getting all excited for this movie to come out up until this point. And I mean, this is a really good movie, so it was well warranted. But I never thought it was going to do this well. I mean, why Sony and Marvel did not put Maguire and Garfield in one of the trailers before this movie dropped, I don't know. I mean, maybe it would have made a lot more money, but it did make $600 million opening weekend, so you can't complain with that. It didn't really hurt the box office. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day on whether or not that this movie can actually make $1 billion. I'm like, I don't know, man. As far as I know, it's not being played in China, and I don't know how it's going to make $1 billion without that big market, but I don't know. It's like more than halfway there, right? So anything's possible. We'll have to wait and see what the box office take is in weekend number 2, because that's usually the indication of how much legs this thing's actually going to get. Now, hearing stuff on the news now with the new variants and everything floating around out there and everything, some theaters are shutting down in other parts of the world, and they're like postponing, like debuting No Way Home in their countries, and like all the way up to like the beginning, first or second week of January. So I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, this movie is doing really well at the box office, and I think it's pretty damn cool. And they're already talking about possibly doing a Spider-Man 4 collaboration with Sony and Marvel, so we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. I mean, I have to admit, when I first heard the concept of this movie a couple years ago, I'm like, how in the hell are they going to pull that off? I mean, just because you could do it in animation form doesn't mean you can do it live action. I mean, this is going to be cheesy as all hell. And I have to say, it's not. I mean, John Watts found that formula, and they were able to combine all 3 stories of all 3 Spider-Man movies franchises and cram them all into one. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, we've been hearing for over a year now about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming into this movie, and then there was talk about set photos and everything out there. I didn't look for those. I didn't want to see it. I mean, I was part of the speculation part of it. I'm like, are they going to be in it? Could they be in it? It would be cool if they were in it, but I didn't want to actually see the stuff. You know what I mean? Not until after the movie comes out. Then I'll go see the behind the scenes stuff of them being on set, or video of them being on set and what have you. I'll go see that stuff. I mean, especially when the DVD comes out and you go get the bonus features, I'll watch all that stuff. But I didn't want to see that stuff before I actually seen the movie. I didn't want any of that stuff like ruining what I saw on the big screen for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Now, Maguire and Garfield weren't the only 2 people that were really talked about for the last year about possibly being in this movie. The other cameo that we were hoping to get, and we did get, was Charlie Cox comes back to reprise his role as Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil. Now, he didn't suit up or anything in this movie, but he was definitely playing Matt Murdock from the Netflix series. Whether or not it's the exact iteration that was in those series, we'll just have to wait and see. But it was awesome to see him in this, and he was kind of like already hinted at with Kevin Feige doing an interview a couple weeks ago. If we have Daredevil in the MCU, it's going to be Charlie Cox. And obviously, boom, here he is. And also, last week we had the Hawkeye episode 5 reveal of Vincent D'Onofrio coming back as Kingpin. So it kind of only makes perfect sense for him to come back. If any of the other characters from those series actually come into the MCU now, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, along with all the cool action scenes in this movie, we got some emotional scenes in this movie. We got some funny scenes in this movie, like when all the Spider-Men were trying to coordinate their plan of attack in the final battle of this movie, and they're like, we got to work as a team. And then Garfield and Maguire are saying, we don't know how to do that. We never had to do that before. And Tom Holland's Spider-Man says, I can do that because I'm part of the Avengers. And then Maguire's like, that's cool. Who are they? And I thought that was pretty funny when they had that scene in this movie and he said that. And then Garfield's like, are you part of a band? I thought that was pretty damn funny. As far as the emotional scenes go in this movie, we finally got the one scene in this trilogy that we've been talking about, speculating, wondering if we're ever going to get. We finally got the Uncle Ben death scene in this Homecoming trilogy, right? But it wasn't Uncle Ben. It was Aunt May. Now, when this happened inside the movie and like Goblin's glider came in through the window and knocked down Aunt May, I'm like, oh my God, no way. I didn't expect it to be her, right? But she got up and she made it seem like she was fine. And then when she had to lay back down, I'm going, oh no, here we go. Oh no, man. And then he, had his hand on her back, and when he pulled away, it was all full of blood. And you're like, oh, dude, that's not good. That's not good. Even when Happy showed up at the end of the battle scene, he knew that it was not good. I mean, I'm not going to say this was more emotional compared to the Sam Raimi version or the Amazing Spider-Man version or the one that we got in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but they were all emotional in their own right. Anyway, right? But this was pretty damn, I don't know. I think this one hit me a little bit harder than those did. I'm not sure why. So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. One of the other many things that everybody has been speculating on that we are going to get in this movie is whether or not if Tom Holland's Spider-Man was going to finally leave the MCU and go over to the Sony Spider-Verse for good. Now, I didn't get that impression that that is what happened in this movie, even though that they left it to where if they wanted to do it that way, they could, because at the end of this movie, he got it to where Doctor Strange did a spell where everybody forgot about Peter Parker. Not Spider-Man, just Peter Parker. And when he visited Aunt May's tombstone and Happy walked up and he's like, how did you know her? Through Spider-Man. He didn't know it was Peter Parker, which I thought that was kind of weird. I guess that's one of the plot holes in this movie and stuff like that, because they don't know who Spider-Man is. I mean, he's buddies with Iron Man. He didn't know who was working with Tony Stark and the Avengers and everything. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out, whether or not they actually do another Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland in the MCU, even though that it's being reported now that in all the trades that that's what's in the works as of right now, mainly because it's making a lot of money. Everybody's like, winning cures everything. So we have to wait and see how that all plays out. I mean, this movie was pretty damn awesome, I have to say. And I know I probably didn't touch on even half of the stuff that happened in this movie, but I'm definitely going to go see this movie again. Now, as far as the post-credit scenes go, the first one was with Eddie and Venom talking to some bartender in Mexico, and they're breaking down the MCU storyline. I thought that scene was pretty damn funny, and how, and then all of a sudden he gets zapped out of the MCU, and that's it. I'm like, that's it? That's the only appearance of Venom in this movie that we're going to get, was in the post-credit scene? I thought it was going to be a lot more. So to a certain degree, I was a little disappointed. That's all we got as far as Venom being in the Spider-Man MCU movies. But they did hint at, with a little bit of something on the bar there, that there could be a future story with Venom, with Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU. So we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. And I kind of have to admit, after thinking about it, the second post-credit scene was kind of like a letdown a little bit, because it was pretty much was a trailer for Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness, which comes out on March 25th of 2022. I mean, the whole thing was just pretty much like the trailer for that movie. I mean, it was kind of cool, but at the same time, it was like, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't as cool as some of the other post-credit scenes that we've gotten over the years, where it was it fed into the story, where this here was pretty much a trailer for the next movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. And then I'm kind of glad I actually did see this, because last week there was rumor that the Doctor Strange 2 trailer kind of leaked on the internet. Now, I was going to do a reaction video to it, and I went and looked at it, and I watched it, and I was getting ready to do it. And I'm sitting there watching, going, some of this stuff looks like it's only from the first movie, or it didn't definitely look like anything new for the most part. And I am like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to go see No Way Home this weekend. I'll wait to see what they've got in there, because they were supposed to be in there somehow. So, and when I finally saw this, I'm watching, going, that is not what I watched on YouTube. So I'm so glad I did not do that reaction video to a fan-made trailer again. I mean, I've gotten burned on that so many damn times. Now, taking a quick look at the original MCU Phase 4 release schedule that we got from Kevin Feige at Comic-Con in 2019, I mean, we can clearly see that how they were going to release these shows and movies is a lot different than what we got. Now, granted, a lot of that had to do with the pandemic, and that switched a lot of stuff around, but I don't know how important it was for all these shows to come out when they did, to actually feed into the overall story. So do you think that the COVID shuffle of the MCU has had a major impact on the overall story? Let me know in the comments down below. So I don't know, man. I thought this movie was awesome. I loved it. I can't wait to go see it again. I'm definitely going to want to see that again in the theaters. So I don't know. Did you see Spider-Man No Way Home? Let me know in the comments down below. Where does this one rank with you with the rest of the MCU we've gotten so far? And where does this one rank with you as far as the other Spider-Man movies go? I mean, one of the things I thought was really kick-ass about this movie is that they kind of gave a good send-off to Maguire and Garfield's Spider-Man, right? I mean, because both franchises pretty much got ended without them knowing, right? So they didn't really get to end their story. This allowed them to end their story in a really cool way, right? At least as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know, man. I liked it. I can't wait to go see it again. So let me know what you think in the comments down below.